What use is positivity unless it's to help us be happier and less stressed? You get 7 specific strategies today. Scott Wilhite is back with me today at Live on Purpose TV. He is the author of the 7 Core Skills of Everyday Happiness, which is one of my favorite books now, Scott.
Thank you.
You really introduced some game-changing opportunities here, which we've talked about before on the channel. The main thing, folks, that I got from this is that happiness is a skill. And I've been out there all this time teaching that it's a choice.
Oh, I hated that. That always bugged me because I was choosing happiness every day and I was getting more miserable every single day.
I used to irritate and annoy you, right? Well, and it is a choice.
It is.
But it's a choice kind of like playing the piano is a choice, right?
But also sometimes we can get mixed up in doing things that we think will bring us happiness, and it really doesn't. And we just get mired in this, and we think it's going to make us super happy, and yet we get to the end and it doesn't, and so we think we need more or the next or something, and we're just on that squirrel cage, and it's so frustrating. I was there for so long. So yeah, this was written because I needed to learn it and because I had just discovered a little secret there.
And thank you for that acknowledgement, because sometimes you'll watch the channel here and it's like, oh, there's Dr. Paul and there's the big author Scott and all of they never really had it hard. Well, first of all, you don't know where we've been, but Scott, you just illuminated and acknowledged that you've been there. You've been in that place of depression, of feeling the darkness or the weight or oppressive nature of just life kicking your butt sometimes, and you had to find a way out of that.
Yeah,
and
actually,
this is a product of that.
Yeah, do you want me to tell you just a little bit about where I started?
Yeah.
I went through probably 10 years of darkness where I was so frustrated. I was in my head all the time. I was sure that my job was causing my discomfort, my frustration in life, and so I was always trying to create something new that would get me a new job. Anyway, I always felt like it was outside of me, and the more I focused on that, the more miserable I became, and I was just so worked up over this. I was obsessed over it.
Right.
Now, my wife thought I was depressed, and she really wanted me to talk to a counselor, and I was embarrassed to do that, to talk to a therapist. I was embarrassed to do that because I knew that I wasn't depressed, I was discouraged. And I felt like I had a purpose, I had a meaning to my life, and yet I didn't know how to fulfill that. And I was just so obsessed on all these things that I thought would bring me success and happiness and fulfillment, and they didn't. And so, when I would hear people say happiness is a choice, it was so frustrating because no, I'm choosing it every day, but I didn't have the clarity to really see that. Now, one story, if you don't mind me sharing.
Yeah.
I'm a filmmaker by trade, and one thing that happened to me was years ago they sent me to Mongolia to film these. They were restoring sight to the blind. It was this amazing thing. And in my mind, I'm seeing these doctors who are doing this cutting edge stuff that is so cutting edge that they can't work on people here in the United States because the FDA approval is going to take so long.
Can't get it cleared.
Yeah,
right?
So they're going to go there, they're going to work on them, they're going to test it out and figure out, this new science. Yeah. And so in my mind, I'm picturing these people like suddenly having their sight restored to them and what life is like, and I get to capture that on film, and I'm so excited. Well, 2 things happened. First of all, it did happen that they were excited and they got their eyesight restored almost like that. And I filmed these 3 old guys, and they're on this table talking to each other, to us, and they're so excited, they're talking over each other, and they're saying, I could read the words, I can see this nurse, things they hadn't been able to see before. But what I didn't know is the surgery that they were doing. It was cataract removal surgery. Now that is such a simple thing. In our country, we get cataracts removed like we get our teeth cleaned. You go in, you get out, boom, you're done. But for them, they didn't know that they could have this. They didn't know about the technology. And so these cataracts would build up over years and everything, and their eyesight would just fade to where they finally couldn't see. Well, that is what happens to all of us mentally. psychologically we get these mental cataracts on our minds, on our thinking, and it clouds us. And unless we have somebody like Dr. Paul, somebody outside, a coach, a friend, somebody who could see how you're acting and behaving and see your belief systems from an outsider's perspective and give you that clarity to help you move forward. So I am so grateful that I found people who helped me out, so that I found out that I was my own biggest problem. And once I was able to remove some of those cataracts, I've been working for the last 4.5 years to remove more, to get more clarity and understanding. And understanding that happiness as a skill is one of the key parts of that.
And really a skill set.
Yes, yeah.
So it's multiple skills. In fact, you've identified 7 of those in your book. Skills that you can actually practice and develop and get into the habit of performing these skills. Might be helpful to just do a quick overview of what those 7 skills are.
Yeah.
You down for that?
Let's do that.
Number 1 is gratitude, I think.
Number 1, the king of all is gratitude. Now, if you take nothing else away from this video except the understanding that gratitude will change your life, that is the key. You can Google it. You can Google like happiness, research, gratitude, and you will find all of these scientific studies where people who elevate their gratitude, it changes their lives. Now, I want to tell you one quick key point of what gratitude is. Gratitude is not thankfulness. And I got this mixed up all the time.
Yeah,
because
help us see the difference there.
Well, okay, gratitude is recognizing you are the recipient of deliberate kindness. There's this exchange of love. There's this human connection. Well, I mean, it doesn't have to be human. It could be us and God. It could be us and nature. But there is a connection with others. You are the recipient of deliberate kindness.
It's an acknowledgement or an understanding that is your position.
Yeah, you just got a free gift, a great gift of love. So
deliberately.
There's this exchange deliberately, intentionally.
Love it.
So, and thankfulness, I would often turn thankfulness into a negative, actually, because I would turn thankfulness into indebtedness, to where somebody would do something nice for me. For example, I needed to move a washer dryer set. I don't have a truck, so I borrowed a friend's truck. I thanked him over and over and over again. I was not grateful. I was indebted, and I felt less of a man, because I don't have a truck.
Interesting.
And so you can turn a negative, or a positive into a negative by your focus. But when you experience true gratitude, it's a feeling, and the more you can feel it, the more you can really amplify that in your life, the more it'll change you.
Wow. I had to pull out your book because I'm like, gratitude, right there, number one. Skill number 2. Savor the now.
Savor the now.
Talk about that.
Well, that is really, and all of these can be taken in multiple ways, and they're really categories, skill sets. Savor the now to me means being present. It means being fully here, right here where we're at. They say that if you're stressed, you're living in the future. If you're depressed, you're living in the past. And if you're happy,
that's really true.
You're in the present. That's kind of one example. There are so many different things that tie into that. One of my favorite parts about Savor the Now is forgiveness. We don't really think of forgiveness so much as a skill. And a lot of times it's tied to religion or something. But really, when you forgive somebody, you let the past go. You let the healing begin, and you're able to move on and to be fully present.
Right.
You can't be fully present if you are continually obsessing over something that happened in the past.
Replaying it in your mind constantly.
Over and over again, taking that venom, just the poison through your system. So, that's just like one example. But it shows you that it can be a skill. This is something that you can work on and improve and get better at. And the more you do that, the more you take control over your life, the less you're living reactionary, the less you're being tossed around because bad stuff happens all the time. Now you're able to choose happiness, really understand it because it's become a skill to you.
Get to have some joy right now. Awesome. How about this next one? Lift someone else.
Lift someone else, the service component. Now, I'm sure you've done something where you've served somebody else and you feel great about it. Well, how often do you have a really bad day and you wake up and you're feeling horrible and then you come up with this idea, I'm going to go serve someone else? We typically don't do that.
It's not the default pattern of your mind.
No, we spiral down, we think about ourselves and we get into our little, shells of ourselves.
Right.
And
Yes.
it doesn't do us any good. But if we're able to get outside of ourselves, help lift somebody else, help serve somebody else, connect, you to someone that you love. And again, there's that exchange of love. It's all about love. Then suddenly you're able to really transform things and have that happiness that comes.
We're talking about a skill, so you get to practice this, even if it doesn't come naturally to you, and most skills don't, at first, come naturally to you.
Yeah, and I am definitely not a naturally any of this, and so I've been working on it. And I have a lot of bad mornings, and I'll wake up and I will put these into practice, and I'm surprised how often they pull me out of my funk.
Yeah. Well, let's go to the next one here. Don't worry.
Don't worry.
Love it.
Yeah. So, you think of the song from the 80s, Don't Worry, Be Happy.
Yeah.
But really, this one is kind of a mental detox skill. So often we collect this baggage and we have this stuff that we drag around with us all the time. Well, we need to take some mental cleansing time and get rid of things that are holding us back, that are weighing us down. And don't worry is the detox skill. And so you can do things deliberately, intentionally to clear that, to get focused, to be in the now. But it's kind of that intention that I'm going to get rid of the toxins that are in me. I'm going to figure out where I'm having these issues that are slowing me down and bringing me down. And then moving forward with them.
I just had an image with this, Scott. Do you remember Tom Hanks' Bridge of Spies, that movie that came out
I love that.
a couple of years ago? And there was a scene where the character was confronting the Russian spy that was depicted in this movie, and he said, "You don't seem worried." And he simply responded, "Would it help?"
Would it help? And he says that several times in the movie too. I love that.
I remember I can't even remember where I heard this. It was in another movie that they said, well, if you worry, then you suffer twice, potentially.
Yeah. And I've heard, there's a quote attributed to Mark Twain. I don't know if he actually really said it, but he said, I've been through some horrible things in my life, some of which actually happened.
Yeah.
But there is all this, negative energy that we take on us when we worry about stuff, and it constricts us and stresses us out. And a lot of times, none of that bad stuff ever actually happens. We are telling ourselves a story. We are being bad fortune tellers that just forecast doom to us. And
when we don't know, we're just predicting that.
Yeah. So, learning to rewrite the story, learning to reframe things, those are skills. Practice them over and over again, and you'll be more in control.
I love skill number 5 here, too. I love all these, Scott.
Me too.
Foster positive relationships. I don't even know if we need to talk much about that one, but there's the relationships. Notice that every problem you're facing can be solved in a conversation or in a relationship, because there's people who know things that you don't know. And if you don't know someone who knows the answer to your problem, you probably know someone who knows the answer to your problem.
Yeah.
That's part of where my mind went. But positive relationships help to make us more resilient and psychologically robust.
Absolutely. And having that as something that you will deliberately, intentionally focus on, that's just so key. A lot of times, we take relationships for granted. And we wonder why our marriages fail. We wonder why our kids don't like us anymore. There's so much we could talk about on this.
It could be a whole other video. And in fact, the next one we are doing a whole other video on. Awesome. And you can look for that, because this one is Improve Daily. And we'll save some of the nuggets for that other video.
And you're going to love that one. This is the thing that's been changing me the most in the last 6 or 9 months. So check that one out.
Amazing. And then skill number 7, begin again.
Yeah.
What do you mean by that?
Again, this is a classification. This can mean so many different things. It could mean you failed today. Great. Tomorrow's another day. You can begin again. It could mean you started to plateau on these skills and, you got pretty good at them. Well, start them again. See if you can up level and see what else you can do to get better at it. What is the next chapter of your life? It's not over, right?
You're not done yet.
Yeah. So there's so much that you can do to really keep moving forward, but to take a deliberate choice, make it a deliberate choice as you do that.
Scott's done some amazing work, and that one idea about happiness being a skill set is huge. I hope that you continue to practice by coming back every day. I'll see you tomorrow.